You are now tuned into Sunday Coffee Chat, hosted by Shayle Saeed and Mia Rutherford. This podcast is brought to you by the Beauty Institute and the Lash Artists and PMU Artists Club, where we discuss all things Lash and PMU. Join us live on Clubhouse, Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 8 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for listening. Grab your coffee and stay tuned.
I heard about the Sheila Bella thing
While
as well.
I'm waiting, I'm going to start following you.
I'm enjoying it, and it sounds super cool. Maybe I'll join next year. I just started following her ever since we started Clubhouse, and she posts such valuable content. So I bet it's great.
Yeah, I love her energy. She's adorable.
Yeah, the whole group is amazing. The whole, all her coaches and everything. So definitely.
Yeah. So when I was doing my research on what's going on with the economy and seeing how inflation seems to be a thing, so I found out that there are two types of inflation. So inflation that comes from the actual country, which is like real inflation based on like physical policy and the Fed printing money and stuff like that. And then there's another kind of inflation, which is based on the shortage of goods, kind of like creating extra demand and little supply, so prices go up. So I think we've experienced a little bit of the both in our purchasing power the past, 2020, 2021. But sorry, I think I'm breaking up again, but
no, you're good.
So how, I was researching how does that affect us as service providers, and they said it does create two different results, right? So I think we've all experienced this like surge of demand right when lockdown was over. So we were super, super booked and we all made so much money. And a lot of that is because there was trillions of dollars of extra cash flowing in the economy because of the stimulus packages and because of the shortage in things like, the lumber was super high, gas was super high, there was a shortage of homes, there was a shortage of cars because of the chip shortage. So there was very little things you can buy with that extra amount of money, right? So there was not that much stuff that you can go spend on because everything was super expensive and there was not a lot of everything. Like if you wanted to buy a car, a home, you had to really, really dig. So the economy was like left with this extra amount of money in everybody's pockets, and the only thing they can spend it on was something like a service or like common goods and stuff like that. So our industry, every single one of us I know experienced this, and I can speak on my salon's behalf and everybody that I know from the Detroit area, that we were just going through this, wow, what is happening? Like, I think we've made more money than every other year during a pandemic. So I didn't really know, okay, why this was happening. And of course, like, our reputation and our good quality work, that has to contribute with why we were making so much money at the right when they opened the lockdown. But I think the main thing was that they couldn't buy anything else and they had extra cash. So I know you guys are based in California, and I wanted to talk about if you guys experienced that coming out of the pandemic.
Shay, I definitely agree that's huge. Like you said, like people were just kind of being more comfortable to invest because, like you said, it was extra. I mean, there's no such thing as extra money. Let's just, say that. But essentially, because they weren't anticipating that money, they don't feel that they, quote, earned that money from, their wages. They probably definitely felt like it was extra money. So spending it on things that they normally wouldn't definitely was a factor. But I also have to say, and I've done a lot of kind of just more observational research and kind of conversational, very, very informal, that a lot of the reason why so many people, went to personal services, partially, yes, was because we were closed and the demand was higher. But I think a lot of the 2020 pandemic, regardless of where you are located, what country or anything, it affected a lot of us in our mental health very greatly. So I think that these personal services were kind of like something that they can do that would make them feel better, because it, self-care. So I do think that that's kind of a factor too. And because of that high demand, for us, for sure, in our salon, we realized, I think a lot of personal service providers realized that, they basically labeled us as unessential. Our careers were basically unessential to our government. So it was really kind of like a reality check, I think, for a lot of us, who realized, like, man, we are in demand, because look at all these people who are begging us to come and work from their homes illegally. They didn't care. It was worth getting COVID to some people. So I think for me, anyways, when we came back, and we were reopening after a 5 month closure, I really was like, hey, you know what? Clearly, people are in, a lot more willing to pay more prices than I was charging. And not only that, but it was rough those months that we were closed. I didn't get unemployment. My husband and I both didn't get unemployment. So we had to survive off of our savings that we were saving to buy a home. And it made me realize, like, it was a real reality check as far as finances. Like, I'm not charging enough money. One, because clearly people are willing to pay more. And two, in case this happens again, I need to be better prepared. So I started charging significantly more, and I had no problems with people paying it. So I think there's a couple of those factors as well. Correct me if.
No, I love that. And I love that you're saying that, because it's making me bring up a really good topic to transition from what you were saying to what is expected inflation. So there's there's a lot of types of inflation, but with inflation, there's something called expected inflation. And it's just like exactly what you're talking about. You're saying everything is more expensive. There's a huge amount of demand. People are spending way more than they used to be previously. So it made you think, I'm worth it. I'm going to charge more because life is tough right now. Things are more expensive, and they're definitely willing to spend it. There's that extra surge of demand. So then everybody in every industry prices their stuff up. So that causes all the goods and services to go up more than they normally do. So we're always experiencing inflation, right? So like if you look at an inflation chart, they're not very accurate usually, but they're always on an incline. Now, what the job of the government is to do, and the job of the central banks, is to basically keep that incline at a 2% or a 2.5%, just like steady, and not to cause any like jumps. So in 2021, 2020, we had more like of a 2% jump. So it went from 2.5 to almost hitting 5% jump because of actual inflation, and then base inflation, and then expected inflation. And it caused now everything just being super expensive, and then also like the gas prices and the housing market and everything. There's so much that contributed to it. But now they're trying to bring down that percentage, a little bit. But once the percentage of inflation goes down, and that's what they're trying to correct in year 2022, it doesn't mean that we're going to lower our prices, because we all adjusted our prices to meet what the heck is going on. And I feel like this was, I don't know, economic, like, I don't know what to call it. It was like a stomach ache. Like if the economy was a human, I think this was it definitely went through something. It went through COVID, just like a lot of people. Like the economy definitely went through something. And so we're all trying to adjust, and rates are going up and down on everything. But once a service or a rest, so like a great example is if you went to the restaurant you always go to, and you bought your cup of coffee at $4 and you're used to it, and then suddenly they're charging $6, you're never going to expect to pay $4 again. When they start charging $6 for that cup of coffee, inherently that it'll never go back to $4, even if the economy goes back to a lower inflation rate from the previous one.
Right. This is a
Absolutely.
gas
That's
price.
just like unemployment. That's never going to go down. It just keeps going.
Right. And it just keeps going up. So I think a lot of us in the sorry, I think I cut out, but I think a lot of us in the service industry definitely adjusted our prices in the year 2021 and 2020
Sorry, I
because
mean
of that
minimum wage.
increased, right, because of that increased demand, right? And in 2022, with everything in the supply chain globally being disrupted, and people still don't know where to spend their money, and mental health is still an issue where like we're still in demand. I don't think that the prices are going to go down anytime soon. But what are your comments on that? I want to hear from Christy and Georgette because I've been running for a while, and they just joined the stage. So we'll do Christy first. Thanks
Hi,
for being here.
Christy.
Hi,
Hey
Christy.
everybody, how are you?
Good. You
I
you
did
always
just
have
jump
great
in. I did just jump in. And you know what? You're going to get feedback from your customers on from both sides of that argument, if you want to call it an argument. I did just wake up, so um, you'll have to bear with me. I have not changed my prices in 12 years. We came up with our prices back 12 years ago before we were ever Eyelash Addict. And I've never.
You accidentally muted yourself, Christy.
Okay, thank you. The biggest reason for that is because we started, when we were ready, we started at the top of the game. We started at the luxury pricing. We started with, we also have value pricing for people who can't afford as much. So we just do less lashes. And so we were able to reach out to every person in the industry. And then, of course, and then a lot of people got trained. And as you know, there's always people that are like, well, I can do it for less than that. And because of that, the pricing has never changed for us. We've never gone down, and we've never gone back up or over where we started. Knowing that and joining this conversation, I will say what it has done. What it has done during COVID is it has brought us more serious clientele. So the people that are out there lowering their prices or doing them for free every time there's a shutdown or whatever, I don't know how they're functioning. I have no idea. However, what it's done for us is I get serious customers like I've never gotten them before. It's like they're there, they're on board, they're happy to pay what I'm charging. They know I've been there a long time. And sorry, I'm walking my dogs now. And they yeah, like they're just there. They're on
Yeah.
board. It's like, yeah,
No,
I'm here. I'm here for you, and I know you're doing a good job for me.
yeah, and you know what? That makes sense too. Like in the service industry, because the profit margin is pretty exponential. So, like a full set of lashes costs you probably, 45 minutes, maybe. I don't do lashes, but I'm gonna say 45
Like two
minutes to an
hours.
hour.
2 hours.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So
2 hours at least.
2 hours with like the minimal cost of,
Like 10,
I
less
would
than
assume,
$10.
less than $10. So even if you're charging, $50 a full set, which no one is, you're still doubling $10 four times. So even, and that's without counting time though, but then the investment is super insignificant comparing to the profit margin. So let's say like a luxury cost for a full set, like I don't know, Ashley, what's a luxury cost for a full set of lashes?
Here in my area is about $350.
Okay. So that's
Yeah, I'm at
350.
250.
Okay, so like even if you don't go up with your prices, you are still in the right industry of like you're not a restaurant where like your cost, like if you're a restaurant selling that type of like service, your cost per meal would be the wage of the cooks, the wage of the waitresses, the cost of the food, the cost of the rent. And so like if you're serving a burger 12 years ago, like McDonald's, for example, we had the $1 menu. I don't go to McDonald's, so I don't know if we still have a dollar menu. Do they still have a dollar menu?
No, they have a value menu, but
It's a
I don't think
value.
it's $1 anymore. I'm
Okay,
pretty sure it's everything's
so
like
yeah,
closer to $5 or something.
so like with the restaurant industry, you couldn't keep your prices for 12 years. But in the lash industry, if 12 years ago your cost was $5 and you were making 250 per $5, you could probably carry on with the 250 for the next 100 years and not feel that you're losing anything. So Christy, like, I think that is one way to do it as well.
I'll tell you also, though, that my products have gone up as a distributor. My products have gone up. My shipping has gone up. Um, Everything, inflation is affecting me in my business, in my space, all of those things. And I haven't passed any of that on to my customers, whether they're buying products or whether they're coming for services, because I just don't pass it on. I don't want to deal with it. Everybody's going through a hard time right now. I just want to focus on what the difficulties I'm having and make everything adjust. But I notice in the lash industry, there's not a lot of inflation. I don't even know if distributors are even charging more for shipping. I know I'm not, but yeah, so we're
I've
taking a
gotten
hit.
quite a few
It's still
emails from a lot of brands. I've gotten about in the last couple, probably 2 weeks, I've gotten about 10 emails because I'm on a bunch of people's subscribers list. I've gotten 10 emails saying that, yeah, that shipping is going up and that prices are going up. So I think that it just depends on your business model. Like if you don't want to be that person, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's the cool, like what Shay was saying. It's one of the cool things about this industry is that you can choose, there's a girl in my area, like I said, that's luxury prices, 350, but pretty standard for my industry here where I am is probably closer to about $200 a full set. That's pretty standard when you factor in a lot of different people. And then fills are about like 100 or so for pretty standard. But my point is that not there's some people here in my area who charge $75 for a full set and $40 for fills. There are people who do that, and they've like established themselves as like, I'll never be over $100 for full sets. And I think that if you can afford it, and that's your business model, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like Christy was saying, she has like the value sets where they don't lash every lash and stuff like that. There's definitely ways to make money and not raise your prices and just kind of like factor, work things out. I think that that's awesome that there's some people out there like that.
Right. And I think it's not that it's awesome or it's not awesome. To me, I just think it's possible. Because at the end of the day, you're running a business. If your lash set costs you $100 personally, you cannot possibly charge $70. So it's just possible because our cost is super, super
I
low.
think it's
And it's
awesome
more of
that
a,
it's possible.
yes, it's possible. So in a lot of industries, it's not possible. And then Christy, I know you mentioned that you're selling products and then you're doing lashes too. So the profit margin with products is very, very different than the profit margin with services. The profit margin with services, I mean, you can get away with not adjusting your prices for 12 years. But with the global economy that we're in now, even if you're shipping your products at a very low cost and then upselling them at a 50% profit margin, or whatever, you're still going to need to adjust to the shipping, to the standard of all the other products in the industry. I mean, it's a whole different ball game, because I
yeah.
think with that you don't have as much leeway. With the
Well, and there's
services, you have leeway, and then I think with products, a lot more factors in.
all the shipping supplies, which people either factor into their shipping or they don't. I don't factor that into the shipping. I factor that into the cost of my product. It's like, okay, whatever. It's a bonus for me that you are my customer. It's a bonus for you that you're using my product. So I just factored in. But we just got a letter from our shipping supplier that our boxes alone are going up like 30%. So there's a lot of inflation, and we don't, when we're purchasing from a company, we don't think about what they're paying for the box or the packaging. We don't care about that. It's like, don't charge me for that. Charge me for my product, or I'll go local.
I was literally, it's so funny you say that, Christy, because I literally the other day when I was purchasing boxes to ship, I was thinking about how before when I was just, strictly a consumer, I've never even, like, I always wondered, no, I should say, I never even thought about, the shipping and handling. Like, this is going to sound so dumb and you guys can laugh at me. It's fine because I left out myself. But that $8 to $10 or whatever of shipping that you normally pay, I never realized that the companies that were shipping me these items were the ones paying that. Like, I know it sounds dumb, but I really didn't think of that. And so now every time I'm shipping out items and I'm paying it, I just think about that, being a consumer and not even realizing that yes, when I'm paying like $20 for something, they pay it. So that's why they charge it to us. Anyways, that was.
You're so cute for that.
Yeah, it's so funny when we start to realize these things from another perspective. I was actually just talking to the mayor's wife in my town here yesterday, and she runs her own business. And she said that, COVID has hit us, meaning retail, well, for her, retail business, so, so hard. And last January, she ordered her Christmas items, and she's a gift shop. And she still doesn't have them, and they're not going to be in time because of shipping, because of COVID, and because of everything that's going on. And her pricing has gone way through the ceiling. And she said she's just not sure it's worth it and whether or not she should be packing it in or not. So I think we're really, really fortunate in the industry that we love because it's not the same. It's not the same as some of those retail businesses out there that are going to go under.
Yeah, you guys have me like thinking here. I'm always like, oh, aha moment. But like, we do offer the services, and then we offer the products. And when I was in college, they always said, if the way to make it big in life is to sell you a product or have a good product. And I'm still like transitioning to that side. But how do you guys feel about like around the holidays offering your services or product through selling gift certificates? And is that helpful as well?
It absolutely worked for me through
Yes.
COVID.
I think gift certificates are, I don't know, and I could be wrong, but hi April. But for me, I feel like gift certificates in the salon, they were definitely something that sold. But I got gift cards last year, and I'm not exaggerating. I think we sold like 10, and I bought 150 of those things, thinking that, oh well, gift certificates did so well, maybe gift cards will too. But for some reason, people, I think it has to do with just like the industry. They don't associate like services with a gift card. They associate products with a gift card. So definitely if you're making like a distinction between the two and it's for a service-based business, I would probably, I mean, just from my experience, I would lean towards the certificates. I don't know.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah, totally. And I think a lot of salons, and here's what I want to bring up too. A lot of restaurants went under during the pandemic, right? A lot of restaurants closed. A lot of restaurants right now are paying $17. I mean, there's signs everywhere in Detroit, paying $20 for like a person to work at a fast food restaurant, whereas before, because there was because we had workers and employees. They were just getting like regular minimum wage, but now people are like desperately looking for people to work. So restaurants definitely are a great example of why retail businesses need to really look at their costs. And we are a retail business, but what makes us so different is that our lash sets do cost $5. You know, their profit margin is so slim that it really the profit margin is so slim that it depends on how many you do a day. Whereas with us, even if you got 2 customers a day, you're good. You made your money that day because you have a 200% profit margin, and you're just you're just monetizing on your time, right? So, I think that's a really great thing about our industry, but I think we are so used to that 200 or 150 profit margin from our services that we sometimes have that mentality for when we start selling products, right? And I think it should be very different. But what's very unique about gift certificates is that your cost right there is zero for the time being. So if a person uses a gift certificate like a year or two from now, then you get less than a full 100% profit. Then you just like minusing your time and your cost. But if they don't end up using that gift certificate, I mean, you just made like pure profit. You just basically, they gave you free money until they use it. So during the pandemic, that was a really, really powerful tool, was selling those gift certificates. And I think it made us think too, as an industry, of like what we can sell once our door is closed, or how we can make money in bed or while not there, or when the salon's not working. So I think gift certificate are a super powerful tool. And then I do want to switch the topic to talk about one other aspect of dodging inflation in the service industry, but I do want to pass the mic to welcome April on the stage. April, you're always a wealth of knowledge, and I want to see what you have to say about this topic, or if this was in any of your recent meetings, or what you feel about this topic, like currently, if this was definitely like a topic around, or you know.
Hi, ladies. Welcome. And thank you for welcoming me. Um, yeah, I think that this is a topic that I think not enough beauty bosses think about. Or maybe I should say, maybe we think about it, but we don't do much about it. I love the idea of gift certificates and gift cards with a gift basket, because with that, you have the retail, and you can actually say the value of the basket is, let's say the value of the basket is $500, but you're going to sell the basket for $400. So now they feel like they're getting a deal without you discounting your services. You're discounting the products, but you're not losing money. Does that make sense? Because people are like, I don't want to cheapen my products. I don't want to discount my services, that type of thing. But sometimes people need a reason to buy. And when the value feels really good to them, when the value is really high, this is why Black Friday is so popular, right? Then they buy the gift basket and they're feeling like they're getting a deal. And I had a lot of my students last year, when they couldn't sell, when their business was closed down, to sell the gift baskets. And what they did is they said, let's just say I have 15 gift baskets at, let's say, we're just going to throw out numbers here, at $600, which is normally a $750 value, right? And so it created that urgency. It created that urgency because there's only so many, right? There's a scarcity. And this is how, unfortunately, sales psychology works. And also, she technically really only had so many products, so it wasn't fake, because you want to be always honest, and you just need to be upright and keep your reputation. So she sold 15. She's like, they sold out so fast. Again, mind you, that means services as well. So that means 15 services. And people felt good about these gift baskets. And then she said, she's like, oh my gosh, it was like a hit. I'm going to do it again. So when she did it again, I said, but this time what you need to do is make it a little bit higher. So let's say last time the basket was $750 value and they got it for $600. So they saved $150, but this time they only save $50. Okay, so it's still, so the people that missed out on the first basket still jump in, but it's also a lesson to them, like, okay, next time I'm not going to wait. I'm going to jump in, because I always say anytime I offer a special, like on my classes or anything like that, like it is like the first offer I make is always the best offer. And then after that, it's not as good. It's still good. It's just not as good as the first, because you want people to be quick action takers and make those decisions. And so in a way, you're kind of, training your audience to say, hey, look, I'm here for you. I'm going to put out the best offer, and you can trust it the first time. Because they're always wondering, like, is it going to be a good deal? Is it going to be a bad decision? But then they see that way they don't have the FOMO, or buyers regret that they're, FOMO that they didn't buy the first one. They buyer's remorse that they didn't get in on the first deal. So that's why I like to use the gift cards and gift baskets. And I rambled there for a bit. But so you can ask me a different question.
No, you never ramble. Okay, that's one thing about you. You always say something that's like stuffed with value. Don't even say that.
Right on time.
I think one of the things that I loved about you saying that you bundled the basket with the gift certificate is, now that you say it, I realized why my facial kits did so well during the beginning of the pandemic. I was wondering why they sold so well. Well, I think it's because they also get that instant gratification. It's one thing to buy a piece of paper and then just have this piece of paper that you know has value. It's kind of like, okay, cool. But then to have the piece of paper with some like maybe sample sizes of, facial products so that they could do a facial for themselves at home. And I ended up accompanying my facial kits with a YouTube video that they got where they could actually learn how to use the kit. And that those like sold like freaking hotcakes. And I did the same exact thing that you're saying, April. But it wasn't a gimmick when it wasn't a sales tactic to only say that I only had 20. I literally, like you said, I only had enough products for 20. So I think that now I realize what that main key factor was, is that with the gift card, they weren't getting anything with it. With the certificate, when I did the certificate bundle with my facial kit, it came with that facial stuff. So now it makes sense. This is why I love when you talk, April, because now I understand why some of the things that I do work so well and some of them don't.
Yes, definitely. It hit like a light bulb. Like I had my first job working at Macy's and Lancome, and I've been there for years. But what you're saying is this is a strategy that's been around. And I just remember working those holidays when they had those gift baskets, like purchase with a gift basket, and they sold out within the first 2 or 3 days before we can even announce it. So just you saying that, April, it like hit home like, wait, I have a business. I can utilize this. And thank you so much. It's right on time.
Yeah, the value looks like it's so much more, even when they're presenting it, right? It looks, if you take the time, and it does take you a little bit of time to put it together. So there is that. But again, when you're thinking that you're selling 15 services, I mean, she was like, this saved my business. And it's not just one student. I've had several students do it, and it's worked in different states and different even countries. So it works across the board. I think the other thing is, we had another promotion that I had them do, which was buy your annual touch up in advance and get a 25. I don't remember if we did 25 or $50. I think we might have even done $50. Get a $50 gift card for a healthcare provider, a local hero. Now, of course, they could give it to anybody they wanted to, obviously, but the way that works is they felt good because people want to feel good about their purchases. And so sometimes people are not motivated by just getting a discount for themselves, but they wanted to give back during that time. So the whole like story around that promotion was, you're buying your annual touch up in advance when people were like holding tight to their pocketbook, right? Because it was like that uncertainty of like, what's going to happen with the world. This is talking about last year pandemic. And then you're getting a $50 gift card so that you can give that to a nurse, a frontline hero. You know what I'm talking about when I say frontline hero, like the people that were serving, right? And so, and the way the way that works is, one, you look like a great business because, wow, you're giving back. That's your way of giving back. Two, they look like a great person because they're giving a $50 gift card. And if that service worker comes in, if that frontline hero comes in, you now have a new client. So it is a win-win-win. You always want to think about things in your business that are going to be, wins for everyone. And that was another great promotion that we did that, it's able to, I mean, there's always things that you can do if the economy is tanking to motivate people in different ways. And it's not always a discount. And you have to think about different things matter to different people and what will make them pull out their purse, right? I always, and pull out their wallet. I always say, don't underestimate what it takes to get a buyer, and don't estimate what it takes to get a person to buy, to get a buyer and then to get them to buy. Like, don't underestimate the task of that. And so we have to be savvy.
Right. And I love what you're saying about the promotion and with the win-win-win situation. And I was reading a book about what makes things go viral, right? And this has nothing to do with what you were saying, but I'm going to tie it in a bit. So basically, with situations where you look good, they look good, and the person getting the gift feels appreciated, this creates everybody wants that, right? Every single human has this nature to feel needed and wanted, and so it meets this psychological desire of like wanting to be important, right? So when your promotion does that, it has more of a tendency to go viral. And what's better than not having to spend on ads, right? This would literally be free. Not, I know of promotion is supposed to bring income, but this would not only bring income, it would literally bring like virality to your business. And I think it could also go viral in a way where like other businesses take inspiration from you and start copying you, and you can create actual like viral content from something like that and bring more awareness to your business. So I love what you said, and I just wanted to like link that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know, but I also teach how to get on media, and that's how I was able to get on Dr. Oz show and how to pitch yourself and so forth. And so you can absolutely call up the local news, which by the way is looking for stories not just every day, but almost every hour. So if you're like, why would they want to feature my business? They're in the business of telling stories. They need stories. And if you're able to have a good hook and a good angle with it, you can get, obviously you can get lots of press with it. How one local business is giving back during the pandemic, or, they love angles like that. How one small business who's, fighting to stay afloat is giving to the community. All of those things like go so far. Yeah. If you're creative and if you're savvy, you can really turn what seems to be, a downturn in your business into a major upswing.
Right.
Absolutely. Also, timing is key too. Because I did my first commercial in 2018, and it was around the time of elections. And I paid what the price was, but unfortunately they didn't air it as much as they promised. And that was because of the election. So also, like, investing into media, also I would pay attention to the timing and what's going on in the world as well.
So speaking of timing, it brings me up, the holidays are coming up, right? And so I know the whole topic of like printing money was a thing, but with research, I found, okay, we're in a global economy. A lot of that money doesn't really affect the inflation rate as much as we thought. And I think what is affecting the inflation rate right now is basically the shortage of most other things, the shortage of cars, houses, gas, lumber, stuff like that. So people still are spending less on other things. So they are going to spend more on like what you're offering, just because to I think people just, the dynamic changed of how the consumer is spending. I think for 2020, 2021, it changed just a little bit. And I think every year we experience this like slowness a little bit along the industry. I mean, some people after back to school like experience that it's, a little bit slow, and then it picks back up in the holidays. So now that the holidays are coming up, and I hope we're all working on our promotions and things coming and stuff like that. Um, with people having a different way of spending, I don't expect them to spend the way they did right after the pandemic. I think that would be aiming a little bit too high because they were just crazy at that point. But what are you guys' expectations of the holiday seasons this year? Because we're still at an advantage, a huge advantage comparing to other industries. But what are you guys' expectations?
Recovery, recovery. Let's come back.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I think that, it's all predictions, but, when you're listening to other, I guess I'm going from other groups that I'm in terms of like what they're calling for. They're thinking it's going to be a very strong holiday season. They're thinking it's going to be probably one of the best Black Fridays. If you have a promotion, right? This is always like if you're prepared and you have something that people will have, and then it will have a pretty much of a slowdown right after Black Friday. This is just, again, what I'm hearing. This is not anything I'm coming up with, no original ideas of my own. And so and they're forecasting by looking at, like, obviously the trends and what's happening. And so I can see that because, there has been a bit of a slowdown. There was all of that, just speaking for the US, was all of that government stimulus that people like went out and bought, like, new TV sets and things like that. Like, and then there were obviously people that were just, feeding their families, but then there were some that didn't, just celebrated. And then there was a slowdown, and I think that there will be the holiday time where people just feel like, okay, I've been kind of conservative, but now I'm going to get that one thing that I want. So maybe it's that beauty treatment that I want, or I'm going to, treat myself. And so I think this is where your messaging is so important with your marketing, right? So not just having a discount, but really your messaging that speaks to the client of, it's time to treat yourself, right? Like, because maybe they didn't take a vacation this summer. Maybe they didn't do some of the things that they would normally do. They didn't go out to eat as much. I mean, it really depends on the state and where you're at too. But if your messaging is around that, I think that can be very powerful. Powerful messaging on, it's time to treat yourself, or give yourself the gift that keeps giving, or, you know what I mean? Give yourself the gift that is a forever benefit, or, whatever. I'm just riffing here. I mean, we could probably come up with some better things than that, but right there's just like to really think about your marketing message is what I would just add right there.
Great. Thank you so much. I mean, yeah, I think that's a good answer. What to expect from the holiday season with the crazy, you know, money thing that's going on. Ashley, are you preparing for the holiday season? What are your expectations? Oh, I think Ashley's busy. Well, anyways, I think the last topic about inflation that I guess I could bring up or talk about that's relevant to what's going on is how to like protect our dollars in our bank accounts against everything rising up, right? So let's say you're